What up, everybody? Hello, hello. You guys tell us in the chat if the audio is good. Well, we start a couple minutes early. Make sure everything's square, technically speaking. Sailing Mackay had to replace his chain plates. Super scary stuff. Hello from Omaha, Nebraska. Captain Mike's here joining us. He makes most of the live ones, which is nice. Captain Mike was the guardian angel that towed me into the Alawai in Hawaii. Very grateful for that. What else? Let's see here. SoCal, what up? Richmond, Virginia. Having a little bit of English breakfast. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking cacao.
Show me your new mug. Very exciting. Live stream. All right. I think we're 1 minute shy, so I like to wait until we're actually on the time we told people would start. No, someone asked if I sailed through the San Juan Islands. I haven't. I've sailed in the Salish Sea and whatnot, but I haven't visited the San Juans yet. Alabama, Ottawa. What else? Ecuador. Well, that's cool. Boston. Silverwood Lake. Where's Silverwood Lake? SB Ranger on the Arkansas River. Picton. What up, Picton?
Go down. Hello.
Seattle. I love Seattle. Seattle's fantastic. If they could figure out that rain situation, it'd be even better. Tallahassee. SoCal. Lubbock, Texas. All right. Go to that. Do me a favor and head out to the Prairie Dog Village at Lubbock for me and feed them some stuff. All right. It's 10 o'clock. Hello from Horn Island. A very, very windy Horn Island at the very top of Australia. We are on the Torres Straits. We're just across from Thursday Island, where we will be clearing out. We got here
days ago.
I don't know, 4 days ago, maybe 5 days ago. 5 days, probably 5 days ago.
I feel like we've been here for a while.
We've been trapped on the boat the last 2 days because the winds have been so high, which is fine. Got a ton of boat work done, editing done, trying to get all the projects knocked out. And
dialing the boat for the passage.
Yeah, getting ready to sail to Indo. We'll be sailing from here, Horn Island, Anchorage, to Tool in the Kai Islands of Indonesia, which will be about a 750 nautical mile passage. It's like under 700 as the Albatross flies, but you need to like sail west until you get past the massive fishing fleet, and then you curve your way up to the Kai Islands. So that is what we're doing and getting ready to head out. It's been a wild 7 months.
It's crazy. Time is so strange.
Yeah.
It's like you think you had loads of time, but then I don't know, it's like a real warped sense of reality, I think, living this way and traveling this way. Like it feels like we're looking at the map and how far we've come. It looks like we've gone so far, but it doesn't feel like that long, but then it kind of does. It's so strange.
Yeah. Well,
I think we've seen a lot.
We have actually sailed very far. Let me pull up the numbers real quick. We have sailed 2,140 nautical miles since Sydney. And we have visited 85 anchorages in Australia. The funny thing is like coastal sailing, which obviously we wanted to see tons of stuff, but coastal sailing just takes like 5 times longer than ocean sailing. And this experience in Australia has really sort of changed the way I think about distances. Australia is one of the biggest coasts we may ever sail on.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, so that that's one. I mean, it's as big as the U.S., right? So, but like we can do. I mean, I've done 2,300 miles in 26 days, like sailing Hawaii to French Polynesia. So, that's further distance in 26 days, but it took us 7 months to get up here to Horn Island from Sydney, which we did have like a 5-week delay in Lake Mac when our engine blew up, but still, it's a long, slow slog.
And it's not like we kind of hung out at places for very long either.
No.
Like we moved house 85 times in 7 months, which when you think about it is a lot.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, it's crazy.
Someone's asking, how are you feeling about the passage, Rhonda? This will be Rhonda's first ocean passage.
Yeah, this is my first ocean passage. So we've done, I think, in total, 3 overnight sails since we've been, cruising up the coast. And the last 2 were really, really good, I think. Hey,
really good.
The last one was amazing. I think it was like 119 miles, and it was just amazing weather and just a beautiful sail. But yeah, I'm kind of already thinking about it. I go into these, like any passage now, I try to not like have any kind of built up thought about them. I'm just kind of going in quite relaxed and not like, I don't know, I feel like overthinking it before it's even happened, just creates a bunch of anxiety that's unnecessary. Like I remember early on, like when that engine broke down, I think I talked about it in our last live, when we left Nelson Bay for the first overnighter, and the amount of anxiety that I had around that was just hectic. So since then I've like kind of, I don't know, just looking at it a whole lot differently in terms of passages. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to tapping out and not having any internet and just kind of seeing how the days flow. It's going to be quite different, I think. But it's not a very long passage. I think it's only going to be like, between 5 and 7 days or something.
Yeah, so my guess is like 6.5 days is what it'll take us, is my guess. It's kind of like the perfect passage for your first passage because the condition, it's known to be a very easy passage. You're running with the trade winds. The seas are quite protected compared to open ocean sailing because like the Torres Straits and there's islands and everything. That's the other thing I was telling Rhonda the other day is like, it's interesting because I don't know, I can't think of many other ocean passages I've done where we had proximity of land on both sides so near. So I think it's like the closest kind of pinch point between Papua New Guinea or Papua and the outer islands of like the Gulf in Australia, or it's like 162 miles or something crazy. So you have land in either direction, and kind of in all directions other than like due west. So that's an interesting thing for me. Our biggest challenge is going to be this massive fishing fleet. And
just the fads and stuff further up. But there's so many people going up there. Like there's, I don't know, like 3 or 4 boats that left the other day. There's a couple more boats leaving tomorrow. Like there's a bunch of us out there. So it kind of feels like there's a bit of a security blanket around us. And there's another woman who I've been talking to who's, it's her first passage as well. And, like kind of talking to people and just, like, I don't know, it's just, I don't feel nervous about it at all. I think it's just going in with a relaxed mind and just allowing whatever to happen. I mean, once you're out there, it's you just got to deal with it. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know on the flip side.
I'm super stoked. Really excited to get up into Indonesia, and I think I've visited maybe 30 countries or something like that over the years, both by plane and by boat. And I've never been anywhere in Asia. So this is going to be my first taste of a completely different culture. I've been to plenty of countries where I didn't speak the language. I couldn't read anything.
Australia's pretty different.
But so this will be my first Asian country. And I'm pretty stoked about it. And also stoked to have like a short ocean passage, and then just kind of get right into exploring. Our plan is to get to the Kai Islands and then pretty quickly sail to the Spice Islands to Banda, and then up to Amban, and then down to Wakatobi, check out that national park, and then back down to like Flores, and then on to Komodo, Lombok, Bali, and on. We're also going to go up to Borneo, and yeah, so that's the immediate plan. We plan on ending the season probably around December in Langkawi, Malaysia. So we plan on we've been talking to a marina there, trying to get a slip reserved so that we can just chill out for a couple months, let the boat sit and rest for a couple months, and let us sit and rest. And also we want to do some like overland travel. So we want to go to Vietnam and Laos and do a bunch of stuff that we're not going to see by boat. Yeah. And then right now it's kind of somewhat where right now we're kind of open-ended about what the possibilities are. So we may spend next season also exploring Malaysia and Indonesia, maybe the Philippines. It's up in the air. It just depends. If we get there and we really dig it,
yeah, we might go back for another season.
Yeah, we have that as an option. Otherwise, around April or May, we need to start looking at crossing the Indian Ocean. So we have time between December when we kind of stop moving to make that decision.
I guess it depends on just how we feel there and how easy it is to get in and out, or out and then back in. But yeah, there's a lot to see there.
Yeah. Someone said, how many spare fuel filters are you gonna take? Indo fuel is really bad almost everywhere. I have like 6 fuel filters, but I've also built a fuel polishing system. So we will be polishing all of our fuel from the jerry cans before it goes into the main tank. Let's see if there's any other questions.
That's from like fishing gear in the area. Yeah, that's the one. All that fishing stuff up there.
Yeah,
nets and things.
So somebody said, "How's it on a new relationship on that voyage?" That is a good segue into Rhonda just did a podcast with. Will you talk about podcasts?
I talked to a woman named Tara. So she's a Kiwi woman, and her podcast is Saltwater Journal. She's on Instagram and all of those places. But I kind of talked about a little bit more in depth of how I met James and stuff, and just talked about like how I've been feeling about the transition to this life, and yacht life versus van life, and just kind of like some of the struggles that I've been dealing with, and yeah, it's a pretty fun ramble. Might do a follow-up with her at some point after the season's ended and just kind of touch base and see how things have kind of changed, whether or not I've, how I found remedies for what I was struggling with and things like that. But yeah, check it out.
I just put the link to the website and the podcast down in the live chat.
Hashtag real talk.
And you can also find it anywhere you get your podcasts and on Spotify and all that stuff.
Linked on my Instagram account and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. So, so there's that. If you guys can go check that out, you'll get more of like Rhonda's take on the whole thing. And yeah. What else? Let me see here. Let me see what I got. I got a bunch of links stowed up here. If you guys don't know about Rhonda's YouTube channel, I'm putting it also in the live chat. It's Love Grub Galley here on YouTube, where she does cooking segments. Teaches you how to cook things.
Just gonna share on Instagram that gets a bit of traffic. So if I share something and I kind of feel like it's worthy of making a little video, then I go ahead and make a little video. I mean, I cook every day pretty much, but clearly don't film every day. But yeah, it's been really fun to do, and it's just knocked over like 1,000 subscribers, which is really fun.
She got 1,000 last night, which is very hard. It took me forever to get my first 1,000.
Yeah, so super stoked on that. But yeah, it's been fun. It's a fun little kind of side hack, and gives me something to do at times too. So yeah. And recipe book. I know people keep asking about that too. That's a big job.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's something I'd really like to do.
So let's talk about top 3 places
in Australia
top 3 anchorages or whatever. So we're both gonna do top 10s on our Instagram accounts. We've both been working on it. We're gonna kind of synchronize those posts. So Rhonda's gonna do her top 10 favorite anchorages that we visited in Australia, and I'm gonna do my top 10. But let's say top 3.
I think that they're so similar as well, though.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Like, I've revisited my top 10 because after like just kind of thinking about it more in depth. But my top 3 is definitely Lady Musgrave and Great Reef as well, number 2. And number 3, I think, is it's so hard. Lizard Island.
Lizard. Oh yeah, Lizard.
Yeah, Lizard was sick. Like, oh my gosh, I could have stayed there for, I don't know, a month. Like, it was sometimes wish that we'd hopped up faster so that we could have like hung out there for longer, because it was just so, I mean, it was super windy. The anchorage was like really windy all the time, but it was just so cool, and we met some cool people, and I got gifted a sourdough starter from Kat, and yeah, just into some other cruises that we met and stuff. It was super cool. So yeah, I'm gonna start my sourdough journey. Just fed her. I've named her Lizzie, and she's over 30 years old, Kat tells me, which is just bizarre. Like, I feel kind of privileged, and it's really strange to say that you have like a starter that's been going for like 30 years. I'm not quite sure how it actually started. I should really hit her up and find out the whole story there, but I definitely can't kill it, for goodness sake. I feel so bad. But I fed her yesterday. I've been talking to Kat, and she's bubbling away in the fridge, so she's super healthy. Yay.
And just to bring that back, that referred to her liking Lizard Island.
Yeah. I liked Lizard Island.
My number 1 was Lizard Island. My number 2 was Lady Musgrave, and my number 3 was Middle Piercy Island. And then you'll have to tune into my Instagram account to see what the rest of my favorites were. But Lizard Island was like top. And a number of people had been like, make sure you stop there. Make sure you stop there. And I planned on stopping there anyway, because Captain Cook had sailed there on the Pinnacle to like find a lookout to try to get outside the reef. So I'd already planned on stopping there, but another people like, it's fantastic. And it's funny, a lot of times when people will hype up a place, you get there and you're like, what were they talking about? Lizard Island was like,
this was cool.
It was like the first, kind of the only place in Australia we went where you could swim comfortably. There was like tons of good snorkeling. No crocs when we were there, but crocs showed up a couple days after we left.
Well, I think they live up in those where we were walking up where the mangroves are under the bridge there and stuff.
Well, either way, they weren't on the beach when we were there, so they showed up after we left, and they closed the beaches for the resort and all that stuff because there were crocs. And yeah, Lizard, great hikes, gorgeous water, very windy, like insanely windy anchorage because of the like Venturi effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, super cool.
But everything else made up for it. Do you think it's going to be like that all the time?
I do, yeah. Because somebody else mentioned, they said they called it Blizzard Island because it was like never stopped blowing the whole time.
It's so nice.
It wasn't cold, but
it's beautiful. It was very hot.
Somebody said saltwater crocs are huge. Yeah, so we're here at Horn Island now, and a local came up the first day we got here and told us there's a 5-meter croc that ate a dog right off the bank.
A Labrador.
The other day.
A big dog.
Yeah. So we have been ultra croc wise.
We haven't seen any. But...
We haven't. I would like to see him from the big boat. I don't want to see him from the inflatable dinghy, but we've been looking out for him. Let's see what else.
Where are we now? We are at Horn Island, at the very top of Australia,
right across from Thursday Island.
Papua New Guinea is like just a hop over
here.
Above us.
Actually, I have the link to the tracker so you can see exactly where we've been and where we are currently. And the tracker will be running, as always, knock on wood, on our passage to Indo. So if you want to follow along, I'll be doing multiple blogs a day, as I always do. We will be shutting off the Starlink internet for the passage because I don't believe ocean passages should have full internet access. I think it's a time for meditation and like kind of tapping in with the sea and with yourself. So we won't be posting, might have my shore team post some stuff, or at least make, a YouTube video live while I'm gone. But other than that, we won't be online during that passage. Mike asked if we got a chance to use the cedar plugs for fishing. No, we've been using these other kind of like
the cedar plugs.
They're
What's that?
cedar plugs, those wooden ones. Let me see.
Oh.
Our pin reel is like we got this
out.
massive tuna on the line on one of our passages recently, and it looked like a sport fishing show. It flew out of the water. It was flapping in the air. It was way
huge.
too big.
It was way too big for us.
It was like scary big, and it ended up getting off the line. But it, for some reason, the reel hasn't worked since then. I got to get it repaired. But we've been using our hand line, and we caught a fish the other day on our hand line. But some of our Australian friends have been giving us some.
Oh yes.
Like this one is pretty effective. And then we just got some of these.
Like soft baits.
Yeah. Did Johnny give us these? Johnny gave us these. Johnny of Sailing Hasta La Vista gave us these soft baits and gave us some tips.
Yeah, super who did the tips. We got given actually they gave us some fish. They had way too much fish, so they gave us some fish
Spanish mackerel
ago, and it was incredible. So he dropped by and gave us some tips of how to catch them and stuff. I think I need to take the dinghy out a little bit more and just try and fish off the dinghy.
When we're not in croc country.
Yeah, no, we're not in croc country. But I think I might give that a go. But yeah.
So yeah, that's been the jam. But we've caught 2 mackerel tunas since we've been here. Perfect size. Both of them were perfect size for us.
Yeah, we haven't caught a lot of fish.
Yeah. So, and currently we had planned on trying to clear out tomorrow and leave, but we're waiting on an important package that I had sent from the States. It was actually delivered to the post office here by DHL Express, which I paid almost $300 for last Tuesday. And those dudes are like, oh yeah, we have like 20 bags. We don't know when we're gonna get to sorting them. We do about 1 a day. So it's just sitting there and we're just kind of stuck in a holding pattern because these dudes are like
they're on island time.
Yeah, they're on island time. So kind of out of our hands at the moment. But as soon as that I get that package, all the big boat projects are done. The provisioning's done. Yeah, we just clear out and peace out.
The big church, old church. There is a church on Horn, lovely old church on Horn to visit. Cool.
Yeah, we didn't see any hiking trails on Horn until yesterday. We saw some on some trail website we might check out. But it's been so windy here. We've just been doing boat projects.
Yeah, it's kind of sketchy to get to shore.
Someone asked me, when was the last time I drank a Dr. Pepper? Oh, it's been a while since I left the States, probably. But I grew up drinking Dr. Pepper because I'm from Hobbs, New Mexico, and it originated in Waco, Texas. What else? You guys got any more questions? Let me see what I got in our links over here. Oh, me and Rhonda did a podcast also. I can give you guys that with Latitudes and Attitudes magazine, 3 Sheets podcast. So I did an article for them earlier this year. So there's a link to that podcast if you guys want to check it out. Let me see here. And yep. What else? You guys got any questions? Mike's asking me, since I was sitting on Makua Beach, realizing your dream, has it gotten better, same, or more of a struggle? I mean, it's all right. It's way better than it was, I think, for me in Hawaii. Because in Hawaii, it was like very challenging because of everything that led up to getting to Hawaii. Sailing, as you know, Mike, sailing in Hawaii is extremely challenging. It's much easier to sail in most places than it is in Hawaii. You're basically like deep, gnarly, open ocean sailing in Hawaii as soon as you get a mile off coast. Which brings me to a point that I'd read this in 100 different places, but sailing behind the Great Barrier Reef along the east coast of Australia is like the most incredible sailing you may ever experience. It is. There's no ocean swell because the reef blocks everything. You have consistent trade winds, especially above Cairns.
Yeah,
We have
totally.
had
Just changed.
fantastic,
That and
like
the temperature.
remarkable. Yeah,
It was just
finally
just
got
this
warm.
like switch had been turned and it just completely changed.
Yeah,
and the sailing's just been amazing.
yeah.
Just
I mean, the challenges as far as the sailing goes off the coast of Australia, especially at the further north you get, is that you ended up merging into the shipping lanes, and we've more than once got pinched in really tight between two reefs and a cargo ship, and one of them was at nighttime. Thank you for the donation. Also, I think Mike donated earlier, so thanks, Mike. I didn't want to interrupt Rhonda while I saw that, but thank y'all for the donations. So that's a little bit of a challenge, is like navigating large ships while navigating the reefs. That one got very close to us. So close that he was like flashing the spotlight at me, but we were under sail. We were doing like 2 knots. We were out of his way, but he was like kind of like having a bit of a freak out on it, but it all turned out fine. We also, when we were in Cairns, we installed AIS transponder. So this is the first time we've ever had transponding on Tretea. You have to legally have it for Indonesia. So now we have that, and man, that thing has been really nice to have.
Yeah, I think also like for me, like the last night passage and having the AIS just kind of it's a peace of mind thing. I think for me, like, and again for the passage too, like it just I don't know, there's just an ease knowing that. I mean, not everyone has AIS. Like, I mean, we didn't have it for ages either, but I don't think we've come across a boat really, have we, that hasn't been on AIS,
there's quite a few of the yachts that we've seen that didn't have it.
But yeah, it was
but none of them were at risk. It was like,
yeah, but
I mean, that's going to be a bigger problem in Indonesia, because a lot of the fishing boats don't run AIS, and none of the like fads have AIS, so that's a bigger challenge with that. But the big ships that are going 30 knots, those are the ones you want to see.
The ones that'll mow you down.
Somebody asked what my favorite food I've eaten on my journey so far. Since leaving LA, probably my favorite food is poisson cru, which is like Polynesian ceviche. It's like raw fish kicked off with lime juice in coconut milk and vegetables chopped up, marinated, and then you served over warm rice. That's probably my favorite. As far as like the whole of, as far as like new stuff, there's like tons of stuff that I eat now that I love that I ate back in Los Angeles. But as far as new food, that was like, for me, that's been it. What do you see in here?
Have I been to Indo before? No, I've never been to Indo before. So this is going to be a whole new experience, which is going to be really exciting.
Rhonda's never been to any country other than Australia and New Zealand.
No.
So it'll be a very new experience for her.
It's going to be an eye-opener, that's for sure.
Someone says, could you ever see yourself having a life on land? If so, where would it be? I don't see myself having a life on land, but my mama always said never say never, so I avoid that. But this life is heaven to me, and yeah, I don't see that being in my future. But if I ever did stop wandering, I would want to live in New Zealand, because New Zealand is kind of perfect in my mind. Someone said, "Do you get any tats in Oz?" No, I did not. I don't have a budget for tattoos. Kind of all the budget goes to just like existing and keeping the boat happy. What else? Someone says, future meetup with Holly. Yeah, we might see Holly in Indo. I think her and Dan are in London or something right now. I don't know where they're at, but
gallivanting. And
I don't know where her boat is. Yeah, by the time she gets back, we might be crossing paths once we get to Indo. What else? You guys got any other questions? Someone said, I would like to ask, will you sell to Japan? No, we will not be selling to Japan, because it's opposite direction of all the winds. Kind of, if you sell to Japan, the only sort of like logical route from there is to sell to Alaska. So no, we're circumnavigating, so Japan is not on the itinerary for this year. Somebody else earlier asked if we were going to sail to India and stuff, but India is very, very difficult to visit by yacht. They make it very challenging through the bureaucracy, and there are very little services, and they make it hard for you to like sail around. So we won't be visiting India. I would like to visit Sri Lanka, but it's super unstable there, and there's only a couple spots that you're allowed to anchor. So to me, it's like the headache of clearing into a country if you can only go to a couple spots. I can't. It doesn't work out for me justifying it.
Mike, I don't really handle the boat when James is sleeping. He just kind of does his same old night watches that he has done like while he was solo. Like his routine hasn't changed there. So I just, you know, kind of get up, poke my head around, have a look around the boats and stuff like that. But if James needs a hand, then I get up and help him, which has only been like a couple of times early on in the passages when we had I don't know, just like this is the first passage. It was really gnarly weather and we just put reef in and stuff like that. And then we had some issues with our auto tiller and things like that, so I was on the helm for a bit one night, but other than that it's been pretty cruisy. And the same goes for this passage. James is just going to run it like he normally does. So I mean, of course, I wake up and I get up and I look around and I do that kind of thing, and I'm always there if he needs a hand. But for the most part, I just do me.
Yeah, there was one time where I asked her to come up and help me reef just so we could get it knocked out. And middle of the night, she jumped up. We tied the reef in, and then she went back and laid back down. She's always kind of up and like awake because my alarm goes off. Because especially with this coastal stuff, doing the night passages. When I'm coastal doing night stuff, I just take kind of snoozes in the cockpit in like 15 or 20 minute increments. So like every 20 minutes, the alarm's going off, right? So a lot of times I wake up before it and I shut it off so it doesn't disturb her. The great majority of times that's the case. But sometimes, you know, I have kicked into a deep sleep. And one time the AIS alarm went off and I didn't even hear it. And she was like, "Hey, do you hear this alarm?"
I was like, dude.
Yeah. So
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm always pretty alert. I'm sleeping in like the cabin, not up in the big berth as well. So like I'm right here. So if I'm kind of lucidly sleeping. I wouldn't say I'm in some sort of deep comatized sleep when I don't know what's going on. I've got like a bit of can feel when things are happening as well. Like I was down editing on Passage the other day and the wind kind of there was just something happened. I had my headphones in and I was listening to my edit and stuff, and I was just like, something doesn't feel right. So I just put my stuff down, went up, and I was just like, what's going on? And I was like, "Do you want a hand?" He was like, "Yeah." So yeah, like I'm pretty tuned in with the boat and how she feels as well. So as soon as something feels a little bit kind of like something feels off, I'll kind of shoot up and see what's going on.
Yeah, somebody asked about the watch thing. So yeah, like Rhonda mentioned, we'll be running the watches the night watches on this upcoming passage the same way I ran everything solo. So starting around 9 p.m., I'll start the sort of night shift to where I sleep in 2-hour increments. We have the AIS set with alarms, and every 2 hours the alarm will go off. I'll get up, check the sails, scan the horizon. If I see a ship on the horizon, then I just stay up until the danger is passed. If not, lay back down. The alarm goes off 2 hours later. A lot of times, squalls will happen. Something will happen. The boat will wake you up and let you know that she needs some help. So, you know, it's different all the time, but that's how we're going to run it. Actually, I'm working on an article about this subject. This like old version of watch keeping where people have to be in the cockpit 24 hours a day is so completely absurd and antiquated. It blows my mind that people with like tons of people on a boat force someone to sit out in the cockpit. It's completely unnecessary. And there are thousands of us solo sailors who have not been doing that, and there have been solo sailors having successful ocean pass. And I'm talking about open ocean. I'm not talking about coastal. Successful open ocean crossings for over 100 years. So like, especially nowadays, a lot of people have like such good radar, like 4K digital radar and stuff, where they can detect squalls. They have alarms going off telling them a squall is approaching.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, it's like, why on earth are like people torturing themselves just because they've been told for X amount of time, well, this is just how it's done. It's totally absurd, completely absurd. Now, in places like where we're going right now, it's a case by case situation. But most open ocean stuff, like sailing with a bunch of fishing boats, a large fishing fleet, then obviously you need someone in the cockpit. Sailing coastally, you absolutely need someone in the cockpit. But when it comes to open ocean sailing, like LA all the way to New Zealand, I saw 6 ships at sea, and only one of them got close to me, and that was like 2 days from Los Angeles. So the old style watchkeeping is completely absurd. So I'll be running this program the same way I've always run the program. And as Rhonda mentioned a minute ago, if I need help, then she'll get up and help.
James is a great guy to have on board, but how are you really feeling about the long ocean passage this time? I'm feeling fine about it. Like I said before, like I'm just kind of like going in with an open mind. Like I'm not thinking about what's gonna potentially happen. Like I have no idea what's gonna happen, you know, like it is what it is, you know, and there's no point kind of, you know, overthinking it before it's happened. So, you know, I'm all good. How I cope is another thing. James is like this.
She'll be fine.
There's this woman who just did the what was it? The Cape of the crossing, the Gulf of
Carpentina. Yeah.
And she doesn't get seasick or anything, and she got really really seasick on this passage. I mean, it was like, yeah, already they're in a catamaran, and I was like, oh gosh, if she got seasick, maybe there's a chance I could get seasick. So yeah, I don't know.
She's been like journaling in like gnarly conditions that where I was feeling a little off, you know, and I haven't thrown up in years, and she's just like down here journaling. So thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's also, I don't know, it's funny. It's like reading accounts of people on catamarans that are saying, oh my God, it was so rough and so gnarly. Meanwhile, in like a 30-foot monohull, they would like, it's like being like a message in a bottle thrown into a,
especially when you're in the cabin as well. Like it's way worse in here than it is out on the in the cockpit. So you're just like, when you're down here just trying to make something to eat or to drink or something, it's like a million times worse down in here.
But also it comes down to like experience, right? Like next time they do a passage, it's going to feel like nothing, because they're going to be like, oh, that's just how it is. Like they're going to be like, oh, that wasn't actually bad conditions. That's just the nature of being in the ocean. And the more experience you have, the less intense it is, the less you're nervous, because you know that everything's fine. And then suddenly the conditions you're in, same thing happened with me. First time I took, I sailed in like 30 knots of wind, sustained for a long period, was my first attempt for Hawaii, and massive waves hitting Trotea. And I laid here and I thought, is the boat going to break apart? Like I literally, because I hadn't had any experience to judge from based being on Trotea. I'd done ocean sailing before, but never on a boat this small, and never on Trotea specifically. And the whole time I was like, is the boat going to break apart? Can she withstand this kind of abuse? And now it's like, I get hit by massive waves and it's a slight annoyance. It's like, so the more experience you have, the difference it is.
It definitely is. Like it's like we've been in some pretty like fairly substantial sort of size seas, I suppose now, but like for me, like everything is becoming like, I don't know, like it's just more accepting of what's coming up or something. Like it doesn't seem like it's a like overly scary or something. Like you just kind of, you're like, I don't know, what is it, like you just become more like, you're super confident with the boat, I suppose, as well, and you just like know that you're safe in here or on here. It's yeah, it's bizarre. Thanks, Mike. I'm becoming the little sailor. I'm pretty good, especially during the daytime, eh? Like
she's becoming the sailor, bruh. She sails on and off of moorings, on and off anchor, sailed off of docks. Like I know a ton of sailors been sailing for years that don't have those skills. She's a sailor hardcore. Somebody asked about provisioning for a 10-day passage. Actually, the passage will probably only be like 6 days, but the provisioning we did, we spent $1,000 on food in Kins and $600 here. But most of that was because we were stocking up for stuff that we knew we weren't going to be able to get. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So like I've been chatting with a couple of women up in Indo already, and they're just sort of like giving me the heads up about what I can not easily get up there. So things like I've stocked up on all my granola kind of stuff. So lots of oats, nuts, seeds, all those sorts of things. And so I'm kind of just buying like bulk of that stuff, olive oil, things like that we just apparently can be a little bit tricky to buy up there. Butter, I've got a few blocks of butter stashed away. Yeah, so in terms of provisioning, like it's funny, like I do get asked this question a bit and stuff on my account, but like I don't really know how to answer it, to be fair. Like I guess it's like you just have to, I don't know, like I guess you think about like what you eat. I mean, it's definitely my eating's changed since I've been on board, that's for sure. Like I don't cook like I cooked before, and I don't cook probably like I did when I first got here too, when we had access to like shops and stuff all the time. So like that's all sort of changed. And yeah, like I've had to kind of evolve what I make. I can't have too many fresh things anymore, like greens and things like that. So definitely our eating has evolved.
Devolved.
Yeah, devolved.
We pulled out one of my old provisioning lists from when I provisioned solo to kind of cross reference so she can have an idea, because she's never done a passage, so she doesn't know.
Well, it's just like, I mean, it's like just storing, like, say, like, I don't know, like when we had lockdowns or something, going to the supermarket and making sure that you've got like plenty of your staples and things like that. For me, that's a big thing. As long as I've got like my staple things, like, you know, like cans of chickpeas and cans of beans and flour and baking things so that I can make stuff, you know, like that's kind of the most important for me. I'm pretty good at making things out of not a lot, and I kind of prefer that kind of cooking. So once things start to kind of diminish and the cupboards are quite bare, I actually prefer that kind of cooking. Like I find it really I don't know, like there's something about it I just find really fulfilling. So when there's lots of things, there's too much choice, I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm like, shit, what should I make? There's like all these options. But yeah, I'll have a think about it and see if I can come up with a better answer for you, because I do get asked it a bit as well.
Somebody asked, do you recommend getting a captain's license for the type of solo sailing like you did, perhaps a way to earn money? I hold a master captain license with the U.S. Coast Guard. I got it before I left specifically for kind of what he's mentioning, because I originally thought I would sail until I ran out of money, and then I would work as a captain, either delivering boats. I got the captain's license so I could get higher paying delivery jobs, because insurance companies would be more likely to insure me having a captain's license versus not, for high end, you know, like long distance stuff, or to drive dive boats and places like that. I've never used it. I think I invested like $2,500 to get my captain's license, and I've never once used it. But it's because YouTube pays all my bills, so I don't have to look for delivery work. So I actually think that if you're gonna be heading out into the wider world, you'd be better off getting an RYA Yachtmaster certificate. That's like more, I think that would get you further. You'd be able to get jobs on a lot more yachts around the world than you would with a U.S. Coast Guard captain's license. You definitely have a wider reach with a RYA Yachtmaster certificate. Somebody says, what about a water maker? We don't have a water maker. Can't afford it, and we'd have room to install one.
We've just upped our water storage, though. We bought another 2. What are they?
2 jerry cans. Yeah, they're 20 liters, so 5 gallons. What else? Says, James, do you do a lot of trolling for fresh fish? We trolled a ton in Australia and only caught 2 fish. using a variety of different lures suggested to us by locals, you name it. So that's that.
We tried to fish a lot.
Someone said, Rhonda, how similar is boat life to van life? She talks about this in a podcast I linked earlier. I'll go ahead and link it again in the chat.
I'm also writing an article about that too, which is pretty fun.
So that's her podcast where she talked about van life versus sailing life.
Let's just say van life's a whole lot easier than your life. That's for sure. But they're both epic in their own right. And my van was so cool.
Oh, and she found some cool little footage on her GoPro the other day.
Oh, yeah, I did. I found some really cute little footage of down in Queenstown, parked up for breakfast. It was really neat. I was like, oh, my van, I miss you.
Yeah, when she gets her article finished, we're going to see about getting it published in one of the magazines.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Really like good comparisons about certain things, just in terms of like, the storage and water and just the whole thing, like just a whole lot of comparisons. It's really, really neat little article.
What else? Do you want to hand me those 2 cruising guides real quick? We can talk about that.
These ones?
Someone just asked how we met. She talked about it on the podcast, if you want to check that out. We've been using, for preparing for Southeast Asia, we've been using these 2 cruising guides. This is kind of the best one so far, Imre, Southeast Asia Cruising Guide. And then this one, Cruising Indonesia. This cruising guide is packed with a lot of really good detailed information about places, but it's super frustrating because he doesn't have any overview maps. So I'm like, how do I know where that is? Like, there's no easy, quick reference to like where that is or where this is, it's just the names and stuff. So this one's kind of frustrating to use, but when I find places in this, then I can go there to this other one and kind of look at more detailed information. But this one's rad because it's Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and everything. So that's what we've been using for our planning for Indo. Someone said here, asked you this question.
Do I try? I've only seen the rudder to.
Well, the first one you saw was French Polynesia.
Yeah.
And then after we started talking, I sent her the Hawaii. I was like, something was said, and I was like, oh, she has to. Something was said, and I was like, oh, well, watch this. This explains like a big chunk of my previous life. Somebody just asked, if you were to base yourself long time in Australia, where would you anchor? Well, you can't really stay in one place in Australia. So most Australians cruise up and down the coast seasonally, based on the wind directions and based on cyclone season. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Sue B. Thank you. And I will say that if you're a foreign boat and you're visiting Australia, which I would imagine from that question it would be, Queensland is a nightmare as far as marinas go. So we've only been allowed to visit one marina in the whole of Queensland, which I think was Gladstone, was the only one.
Which was an amazing marina.
They really don't like foreign yachts. They make it we have $11 million coverage over 2 different policies from 2 different insurance companies. And they rejected our insurance at every place we tried to go. So we've only stayed in Gladstone. They were super chill, really nice, amazing place. But that is literally in Queensland, like really soured a lot of my Australian experience dealing with the officials at these marinas. And like, we don't want to stay in a marina long. It would be nice for a couple days, hot showers, get some provisioning done easily. And they were like huge assholes. So that was a nightmare. We had a really bad experience at Mackay, where even trying to get fuel, the guy's yelling at us, demanding to see our insurance papers at a public fuel dock.
Yeah, it was pretty
yelling across the thing. I was like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
So we had like really bad experiences with the
As
marinas.
have many people, even Australians. We've spoken to
Exactly.
so many
Especially
people.
McKay. That dude is a total asshole.
Yeah, we've totally spoken with a lot of people that have had some really awful
Shane
dealings
May.
with
His
them.
name's Shane May. Fuck you, Shane May. Yeah. So we had like, a number of Australians said
Heaps of
they
Australians.
had tons of problems with that
Yeah.
with that dude. So anyway, that really kind of put a damper on us, which is a bummer because like Queensland has the most places to visit. Like it's so beautiful. New South Wales is really challenging. Like, I mean, we stayed at the fanciest yacht club marinas in Sydney and Pittwater and stuff. They were totally chill, no problem with all of our insurance. And then as soon as you get to Queensland, it was like a total nightmare. So that was a real bummer. But yeah, so if you're spending a long time in Australia, I would say you have to just kind of cruise the coast. That's what everyone does. We've met so many liveaboards that are Australian that's all they do is just go up and down the coast, which there's tons to see, tons to visit.
I'm surprised at how many liveaboards there are here, to be honest, doing that. It's like, whoa, there's a lot. There's a lot of people living aboard, just cruising up and down the coast with the seasons. It's incredible. But
then also, that being said, it's illegal to live on your boat in Sydney Harbor or Pittwater. And the Border Force, they really keep an eye on it. I know a couple people that are like sneakaboards that kind of fly under the radar, but for the most part, like we even got an email several months after we had left Sydney Harbor, and they're like, you need to tell us exactly where you are. You haven't reported in, and we will revoke your right to be in Australian waters if we do not hear back from you. And I'd sent them an email, but apparently they didn't get it or someone didn't log it. But I was like, well, here's a copy of the email I already sent you when we left Pittwater. And I sent on my tracker. I was like, you can see exactly when we left. So you can't live aboard down there. You can only spend 3 months, I think, out of the calendar year in Sydney Harbor and Pittwater. So that kind of limits what you can do as well.
John is loving my cooking channel. Thanks, John. Where did I learn to cook? Well, I guess I'm just a self-taught cooker. I just enjoy food. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Someone asked why we didn't sell the West Coast. Because it's not the trade winds and it's like super deadly coast. We're not circumnavigating Australia. So we sailed the same route everyone else with the trade winds.
It's crazy how many people actually don't even go as far as we did. Like we've met heaps of people who have checked into Australia, even some people that checked in here at Horn just for a break and to stop over reprovision and then heading up to Indo. So people bypass here quite a lot by the sounds of it. And a lot of people check in Cairns, don't they? The people checking in Cairns, and just miss that whole New South Wales coast as well. So yeah, I was quite surprised to hear that.
Someone asked if there are hurricanes or storms forecasted for a journey to out of Australia. They don't have hurricanes here. They have cyclones, which are cyclonic in nature, not nearly as gnarly as hurricanes. But no, we don't sail anywhere during cyclone or hurricane season. So it's very easy to avoid those storms because it's a known time period. So cyclone season starts here mid-November to the beginning of December and runs until April, May. We will be long gone. We'll be gone in a couple days. Someone asked if I was stopping in Pape. No, we are not. We are avoiding all of Papua New Guinea and Pape because of the security risks. And it's just not on our route. We want to go to the Spice Islands, so that's where we're heading.
Someone asked about how you care for your beard, James.
Lots of saltwater sea spray is my beard care while sailing. Someone said, would you do a challenge sail to an extreme distance, low infrastructure position? I don't understand that question. I'm not sure what that question means.
Would you do a challenge sail to extreme distance, low infrastructure position? What does that mean?
Mike asked if I would be getting coffee enemas in Bali. No, I won't. But that brings me to a very funny, pointless story from when I was in my 20s and I was like the bulk manager of a Wild Oats, which is like a health food store, kind of like Whole Foods back in the 90s in Denver. This like 80-year-old woman was like making me explain all the different flavors of coffee to her. like 20 minutes. She's like, what about this one, this and that? And then she turns to me and she's like, oh, I'm going to use it for an enema, so I guess the flavor doesn't matter. And I was like, what else? Someone asked, we'll be visiting Christmas Island. No, we plan on sailing. When we do cross the Indian Ocean, we'll be probably sailing. Right now, the idea is to sail to the Maldives, and then Maldives to Chagos, if we can actually get into Chagos, and then Chagos maybe to Seychelles, and then on to Madagascar. But I saw that like sailing Nanji just left Reunion Island, was it Reunion or Mauritius today? And they're sailing north to Madagascar, but it might be this time of year. Like if we sailed across the Indian Ocean, we would sail a lot earlier than they did. So, but most likely it might just be Chagos straight to Madagascar, because I heard you have to pay to anchor in the Seychelles, and I refuse to pay to anchor anywhere. So I might just avoid the Seychelles, but we'll see. I definitely want to spend a couple months in Madagascar though. But that's like always, it's either next year or the year after. It just depends.
Where are the anchorages that you use the short distance provision and supermarket shoes did you find to be good?
That's like too long of an answer to really get into. As far as like, there's tons of places south of Cairns. There's tons of places to provision near anchorages. So that's not a challenge. Only above Cairns do you need to really be stocked up, because there's nothing above Cairns until you get here, pretty much. What's been the most magical place you've sailed to? Here in Australia, probably Lady Musgrave as far as magical goes.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
That was her first like atoll lagoon. We were in the Great Barrier. It was both of our first time to the Great Barrier Reef, which was exciting. Really good snorkeling. Really cool cay with like bird life and stuff.
Really beautiful little narrow entrance into this lagoon. It's like, yeah, that was pretty magic.
Someone said, James, I know you said you would live in New Zealand if you ever became land-based. Have you ever thought about Europe? I've spent a ton of time in Europe, but I mean, I could see living on a canal boat in France or in the UK. The UK is too rainy though, but I could see living on a canal boat. I love Paris, but nah, New Zealand is awesome. Really cool. I mean, especially for a yachty, it's like the weather's challenging, but every other of New Zealand, like incredible landscapes, amazing hiking, a billion anchorages to explore by yacht, safe anchorages everywhere, good holding.
Nothing wants to frickin' eat you.
Nothing wants to kill you. That's been the challenge here, is not being able to swim.
It's been massive for me.
Really hard for
Rhonda.
Rhonda.
Really hard not being able to get in the water as freely as what I'm used to. The whole of Australia, really. It's been, a real struggle. It's probably why I really liked Lizard Island stuff and being able to get in the water, because it's been really, really, really hard for me, not having that freedom. And in terms of climate, I definitely prefer. I like the warmth, so New Zealand does get pretty cold a lot of the time. So definitely the climate here has been pretty good. And north of Cairns, it's been on, the heat has been switched on.
Yeah. Someone said, any final touches you need to do to the vessel before departing? Mostly just, I need to clean off the hydrovane rudder. I need to scrape it's got a beard on it at the moment.
It's got some hectic growth going on.
Other than that, I think I've done all my big projects.
We just have little bits and pieces to do, but
reorganize the aft locker, move the spinnaker in here so that it's easy grab. We just got a new spinnaker from Rolly Tasker, so that's exciting.
Just looking at the list on the wall, trying to figure out what I had to do frost the freezer. That's a major. Someone
said, hi, James, did you end up doing an interview for a sailing magazine? I've done several interviews for magazines, and I've written probably 7 articles for magazines. So yeah, there's a lot out there. The engine's doing great. Fantastic. Luckily, we haven't had to use it much because we've been sailing constantly everywhere. We basically run it for 5 minutes to get us the anchor up and out of the anchorage. We shut it off. We run it for 5 minutes to drive into the anchorage, drop the hook. We've been sailing everywhere.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Oh, somebody just asked about Practical Sailor. Yes, Practical Sailor is doing an article on me written by an author. I don't know when it's coming out, but I just did that stuff with them recently.
When on anchor, do you ever worry about not?
I answered that in the comments.
Oh.
I'll go ahead and now that she mentioned it. Someone asked, when on anchor, do you ever worry about not being set properly, especially during high winds or rough seas? I do not, because I have so much experience anchoring. I've lived under anchor for 3 years. I set up my ground tackle setup to be like storm force ready before I left LA. I've taught anchoring classes. You get to where you know the situation, you know on the set, and you trust your ground tackle. I've ridden out 4 tropical storms and 1 cyclone under anchor. Didn't move an inch. There are certain times when you will drag, which may have nothing to do with your ground tackle setup. If it's bad holding, then that's just the reality. It's like when I was in American Samoa, I drug probably 100 meters because the winds got up to like 20 knots, and it was seriously. But even there, I was like, it was a notoriously bad anchorage. The only place they allowed you to anchor, and it was like trying to set your hook on a sidewalk. So it just drug and drug and drug. It finally catches debris is the only way you stop moving. So some places it doesn't matter, but usually if we go to set the hook and it feels sketchy to me, we don't anchor there. We pick up and move to a different spot. Other than that, we've only had 1 drag experience here, and that's because the wind switched and got up to over 25 knots. This squall hit us from the wrong direction.
Middle of the night.
And it was like 9 p.m. But we were anchored with less scope than I wanted to anchor with because an adjacent boat had told us how little they had out. So we kind of had to match theirs. And at that point, I just ignored them, paid out more, and we stopped dragging, and everything was fine after that. But for the most part, it's just a matter of like having the proper ground tackle, always setting 5 scope. You can do 4 scope if you're in deep water or like really dead calm conditions. Never do 3 scope. Some people have told me, 3 scope's very common in the Med. Well, just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean it's not stupid. And also, I've seen videos where there's tons of rocks, tons of boats on the rocks in the Med. So, just because other people are doing dumb shit doesn't mean you should do dumb shit. So always have 4 scope out, 5 scope if you can. And in high winds, you do 7 to 9 scope and you're good. Yes, Tritea is still my forever boat.
Jason, the engine is going well.
Someone said, did you install engine soundproofing, and how good is it? It made a big difference.
Yeah, it's definitely dampened it.
Took the bite out.
Yeah, it took the sharpness out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And we can still hear it and hear what it's doing. So we can still, we're aware of what it's up to. But yeah, we haven't had it going for a ton anyway lately.
People keep asking me about retiring and quitting sailing. Why are y'all asking me this question? Like, I have friends that are in their 80s that are still cruising. Like, that's my plan. That's like, I have no interest in that shit at all. Like 7 people have asked me this. Someone says, I bet the stars are amazing out at sea with no light pollution. Yeah, especially if it's a new moon and you have like not solid cloud coverage.
Yeah, we had an epic. Where were we that night? The Milky Way was just so bright.
I think it was that place by Portland Road, maybe. I think had pretty remarkable.
So cool, like no moon, and it was just, oh my god, the sky was incredible. That's right, we jumped out, and it was just a shooting star went flying by. That was cool. So beautiful. Someone
said, "How do you know you was ready to take on this journey?" Asking because me and my wife are about ready. In my eyes, just asking. My first question to you is, do you have any ocean sailing experience? If not, you and your wife should volunteer to crew on an ocean passage and see if you actually like ocean sailing. That is always. Recently, I've had 2 different dudes that wanted to do solo stuff reach out to me, and they're like, hey, will you tell me if this is the boat I should buy to do what you're doing. And both times I'm like, do you have any ocean sailing experience? And they're like, no, but I know I want to do it. I love this. So this is definitely what I want to do. So I'm just going to I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to buy this boat. So what do you think? And I'm like, I think you need to go get some ocean sailing experience. Like when we did the trip to Greenland, there were 2 dudes on there. One of them had been shopping for like $150,000, $2,000 boat, very seriously shopping for like a big boat for him and his family. And those dudes were sick the whole time, like super sick, like miserable for the ocean sailing stuff. And then when we got to Iceland, I asked everyone. I was like, okay, everyone that hadn't done ocean sailing before. I was like, okay, now that you've done it, like, what do you think? You know? And there are like 2 of the dudes were like, I never want to be in the open ocean ever again. One of the dudes is like, I love sailing. I'm a coastal sailor and I'm fine with that. So you really need to get out there and experience it because it is worlds apart different than coastal cruising. It's not the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're not an ocean sailor, that's fine. But before you invest the money and kind of like, you know, just jump off the deep end, get out there and get some experience and make sure that you and your partner like it. And it might be that like your partner doesn't, whether male or female, your partner doesn't like it. Maybe it's the wife that loves it, you know, and the husband gets seasick and hates it. So it doesn't matter about that. All it matters is like if one of the people really hates it, it might be a better scenario for the one that loves it to do the ocean crossings. And then the partner flies in and meets you, does the cruising locally. And then I know a lot of people that have that arrangement, which really works out. But everyone should get out, volunteer on a boat, do an overnight passage with a capable captain on a good boat. And there's lots of people that need crew for watch keeping. So there are opportunities to be able to get ocean sailing experience, but you need to know if you actually enjoy it before you sell your house and buy a $200,000 boat to find out this is hell. Mm-hmm. And actually, this is just a good segue. We're reading Lynn Pardee's new book. She sent me an advanced copy, and she talks about they met a dude who got to the Marquesas, same exact thing. And they were like, they hated it. The family was actually kind of okay with it. Him. The dude, the captain, he was like, it's too stressful. I can't handle the stress. I want to sell. He was trying to hire Larry Pardee to deliver the boat from the Marquesas back to California.
I think it was the stress of like having to think about the family and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't just the stress of the boat. It was like so much responsibility to keep everybody safe. Was a massive play on his by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and they talked him into at least sailing to Tahiti because they were like, you're going to have an easier time finding someone to deliver the boat in Tahiti. So you're already here. It's not going to be as difficult sailing from here to Tahiti. I'm going to post in the chat right now a link to her new book. So you can pre-order it. It's going to be coming out. I think she's like officially releasing it at the Annapolis Boat Show. But we've had a great time. We've been reading, a couple chapters every night.
Reads to me while I'm cooking.
Yeah. So we've been reading that. And it could be Lynn's last book. She's 80 years old. She has more than 50 years of cruising, and she's done over 200,000 miles. And this is her book about their Cape Horn passage and then her new life with her partner, David, who I interviewed both of them for Yarns last year. So, but again, and they met that dude. I don't remember what year that was. It was probably early 2000s when they came across that dude. So that's my advice on knowing when you're ready or when you're not ready. Someone said, what are your plans for off-season time back in the U.S.? I have no plans to visit the U.S. again. We plan on doing some travel in Asia. And if we went anywhere, we would pop over to New Zealand for a week or two so that Rhonda could see her family. But it's crazy expensive to fly from Southeast Asia to New Zealand. Shockingly. It's not that far, but it's very expensive. What else? Let's see. What else? You guys got any more questions? Let me see if I missed anything while I was rambling. Someone asked if I carry sextant on board. Yes, I have a beautiful sextant on board, bronze. And we keep up-to-date nautical almanacs.
How many star constellations can you? Not enough. Not enough.
No,
We
no.
can't identify enough.
We have a book if we need to identify them.
We should really.
I have too much stowed in my brain already. Someone said, what's our rough timeline for Indo and places? We're planning right now on spending 3 months in Indo. And then we want to be cruising up the Malacca Strait by the time the northeast monsoon switches. So we want to be in Langkawi by December to kind of chill out for a few months. What did you say? Rhonda's scrolling through the chat right now, trying to find something. She's going deep. Uh-oh, maybe
yeah,
back
it was
to
a
the
while
beginning.
back. I forgot.
Come on now.
Up here. Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. It gets lost in the chat. Mike's asking about the hydrovane. Of course, every sailboat is different, but the sail trim while using the hydrovane, does it slow you down or does it have no effect? I don't understand the question. I don't understand the question. Does the hydrovane slow us down? I don't think so. But if it does, it's negligible.
The hydrovane's amazing.
Hydrovane's the most important piece of kit on the boat. And they just sent us a new cover. So we have a fancy new red cover and not my busted little white one that I made.
Which does make an interesting sound that we just discovered as well. We were like, what the heck?
It hums like a drum.
Like, it makes this kind of strange sound. And for quite a couple of passages, we just couldn't figure out where this noise was coming from. It was really interesting. We realized it was the new cover on the vane.
Someone said they enjoy the videos. Thanks so much for everybody. My Pacific Crossing video just crossed 1 million views, which is exciting. It did it in like 3 months, which is like the only other video that kind of hit those numbers like that was the Hawaii video. So now I have 3 videos over the 1 million mark, which feels like a really fantastic sort of like, okay, that's rad. From like the perspective of a filmmaker, content creator, storyteller, one video hitting 1 million, it could just go off the rails. It could go viral. It could be a fluke. Having 3 that have more than 1 million views, 2 of which are an hour long, 1 of which is 13 minutes. That kind of tells me that, okay, people enjoy the way I tell some stories. So thanks to all you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. What else? Oh, Mike said reducing the sail area to balance for the wind vane. Oh, 100%. Like there'll be times when if the boat is not balanced and it's overpowered, the wind vane can't steer us off. So you definitely have to pull a reef in. And you notice it instantly. So if you start seeing it struggle and it's kind of rounding up over and over, then even if it doesn't feel like the boat's overpowered, you just tie a reef in. And if the wind is like aft of the beam, you want to put in the mainsail reef, and if it's forward of the beam, you want to reef your headsail. So yeah,
it's incredible how much that makes a difference. Like instantly,
difference.
Like you put a reef in and it's just like, yep, sweet, we're back.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing too, is like somebody on Instagram the other day, I mentioned something about having 2 reefs in, a little bit of headsail out, and I was in 25 knots of wind. And the guy was like, that's weird. I don't have any reefs and I sail in that kind of wind all the time. Why do you feel like you need to reef in those kind of winds? I'm like, well, just because you're not reefed doesn't mean you shouldn't be reefed. Like we don't lose any speed. Suddenly there's far less stress off the boat. There's far less stress on the crew.
Feels more comfortable.
The boat a flat boat is a fast boat. So a lot of dudes, especially people that just start sailing, they think putting the rails in the water is like really cool. And, man, we're really going fast. Actually, you're dragging the boat through the water. And that's why you see race teams, you'll have like a bunch of rail meet. So there'll be like 7 sailors sitting on the rail trying to get the boat flat. So yeah, it's like, and again, with cruising boats, it's a wildly different thing. You don't want to put any undue stress on the boat. So carrying too much, especially it's not giving you any speed advantage. All it is doing is wearing your boat down. Someone says, "Hey James, even after engine failure in Lake Mac, did you like the area?" Lake Mac, we really did, and
I mean, we spent like what 5 or 6 days there before we got stuck there.
exactly.
So you know, like we'd hopped in there. We hopped in there just to, I think maybe just for a couple of days or something for wait out some weather.
Familiar with the boat, she was able to learn a lot of sailing stuff
Yeah, it was
that
so
she
cool.
didn't know before, and gain a lot of confidence. That made things so much easier. That it would have been challenging for her to learn on the coast of New South Wales, where it's really rough sailing.
Yeah.
So I think that was like really,
yeah, it was
the most important part of Lake Mac was like,
yeah, it gave me heaps of confidence in the boat, like just being able to handle the boat on my own and stuff. Like it was so good. Yeah, and it was fun. Like it was fun. Like we had lots of fun little sails and spinnaker sails and like, you know, like slow moving sails. It was really, really fun. Like that stuff was awesome. Eric. Yeah, I am excited about the passage. James, how does it feel to we're doing it solo? Yeah, for James it's going to be a whole lot different because,
what did someone say?
Well, just the passage to Indo being not solo, you know, for you.
The only
having someone on board.
Only challenge with that, I think, is like I'm giving Rhonda the really cush. Thank you so much, MMA Trucking, for the donation. Appreciate it. I'm giving Rhonda the really cush passage nest with the Hest mattress and all that stuff. So she'll be sleeping in the really comfortable spot. I'll be sleeping on the cabin sole because we don't have another full-length bunk. So that, you know, it's just like we're going to pile up cushions. I have a thermarest. So that's the only thing, but it's only a 5-day passage.
And if it's mellow, like you can probably just jump into the V-berth.
Yeah, I might be able to like lay in the V-berth depending. Since we're running, that might be possible.
We'll just see how it goes.
We'll see. Because that's the only thing I think will be more of a challenge. We've spent 7 months and we've crossed 2,000 miles together in this space. The small space isn't an issue for us. So we're not worried about that.
I mean, we're constantly stuck in the boat together, so the passage isn't going to be any different to every day.
What else?
We ran softly aground in the middle. We ran aground also, not really us running aground though. We got towed aground in Lake Mac.
We ran aground a couple of times. We ran aground
at Lake Mac.
No, at Gold Coast. I know, but I'm saying yeah, we were drug aground by the tow service at Lake Mac, but we ran aground on what was supposed to be deep water at Gold Coast. But both times a few times we've been aground, we just kedged ourselves off. So I just took the anchor out old school, dropped it, and I used the windlass and it pulled us out of the mud or the sand.
I think we should have just waited for the tide to come up a little bit more before we left.
We were in the middle of a channel. It was tight. Yeah, I was not waiting. What else? What else? So someone said, I'm a Kiwi stuck with Gulf Coastal and Barrier cruising on my own. I was happy with that. Envious of you ocean type dudes. I need you for this vlog. It's symbiotic relationship. I mean, New Zealand has tons of fantastic cruising though. And if you want to get a little taste of ocean stuff, you know, sail around the top and down to Marlborough Sounds. That's a great sail. Well, the strait is very challenging, but other than that, you can still get a taste of ocean sailing if you head down the West Coast. What else? Someone said they reversed off of the grounding. One tricky thing with reversing out of groundings, and I know this because I was on a boat with a delivery captain that did this. If you gun it in reverse and you're in sand or mud, it can catch your rudder and rip your rudder completely off. I was on like a $300,000 Dufour, and the delivery captain did that when we were in South Carolina. He missed the channel mark. We ran aground. The 75 horsepower Yanmar, he's gunning it forward and reverse, and it went in reverse, and it caught the sandbank, and it just ripped the rudder completely. And the rudder popped up and floated away. So you got to be careful with that reversing off of ground, but sometimes it's your only option.
Yeah, neutral.
Someone's asking me if I can talk about the fuel polishing system. Yeah, I just got a separate, like a screw-on filter. I got an inline pump and put a hose on one end, and you send all the fuel through a filter out of a jerry can, either into another empty jerry can, or you can put it straight into the tank. But since Indo is known to have really bad fuel, I have a number of friends who have cruised up there for many years, and that's what they suggested doing. So that's what I built when we were in Kins. What else? What time is it? 1:19.
Enjoy this and doing dishes.
Anybody got any more questions? Let me see if there's any more links that I wanted to share over here. Oh, you know what I'll do? Oh, I was thinking about doing this anyway. Especially now we're an hour in, so it's got to be people that are dedicated to the cause. The video coming out this Monday is from our visit to Middle Piercy Island in the Piercy group. And it's one of my favorite videos that we've ever made. And it was one of my favorite, and it was one of my favorite places that we visited in Australia. It's in the top 3 of my favorite anchorages. Super cool. There's this amazing, what's called the Piercy Island Yacht Club. It's a simple open A-frame where sailors have put up the signs, cruising sailors, and their signs dating back to the 1950s there.
It's pretty cool.
We put up a plaque for Tritea while we were there. We drove around this tidal lagoon that Matthew Flinders had cruised around and explored. We checked out like flying foxes. We knocked out coconuts and shucked those and like drank coconuts. So I'm gonna give you guys
that was a really
the
cool
sneak
spot.
link right now in the chat. Don't watch it right now. Keep watching us. But afterwards, if you save this link, only the patrons so far have seen it. So if you guys want to get a little sneak peek, that comes out Monday. But it is really, really awesome experience that we had. What else? Any questions? You got anything to add? What are you working on for your channel?
At the moment, I'm doing a little flashback to Melbourne Sounds for my channel. I'm going to grab all of the footage. Well, I have grabbed all the footage, I should say, of the gurnard that I caught down there when James and I were selling the sounds in New Zealand. So I'm going to re-edit a version for my channel and see how that goes. It should be fun. Yeah, that's what I'm working on currently. So I've got to really get that done and put aside so I can release it while we are on passage.
Then your newest video has been one of the best performing in a short period of time.
I know, who would have thought scones would be so amazing?
But it's like the best vibe.
And
she kicked me off the boat, so I had to leave the boat so she could film in peace.
James wanted to go for a snorkel, and I just said, "Oh, can you just go on your own so I can do some filming?" Because I was needing to do some filming.
Yeah,
and it was fun.
Yeah, and she did this really fun little stop animation for it.
Yeah,
because our brand new GoPro keeps overheating, glitching, crashing.
So frustrating.
This is the second brand new GoPro that's done. I think I'm going to switch to DJI because I just can't believe we're spending this much money and these things are unreliable.
It's so annoying. I realized it had stopped going either, so I missed this whole chunk. So I was like, how am I going to fix this? And I just thought I would do something creative. So got to drawing on one of our little passages and stuff, which was fun. And put it together. So that was a little band-aid for my episode. But yeah.
Somebody said, "What's the biggest catch you've had on your journey so far?" Rhonda. Somebody said, "What's the tastiest fish you caught on Tritea?" That gurnard was pretty good, but the tastiest fish we've had on Tritea we didn't catch. Our friends from sailing Hasta La Vista was a Spanish mackerel, and it was like close your eyes while you eat. It was so good.
It's my favorite.
They gave us way too much of it too, but it was delicious.
It was amazing. Yeah, I did a few different things with it. Can you link my channel?
Yeah, I already linked the channel.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Perfect.
Put it in the chat.
What's those boats?
Did we see dugongs at Horn? Tell them our dugong experience.
Oh my goodness. No, we didn't see dugongs at Horn, but we saw them at Stanley Island down in the, what was it?
Flinders
Group. Oh my Lord. So we're going for this mission to shore, knowing that there's heaps of crocs around and everyone's, you know, be careful of the crocs. And being in an inflatable dinghy just gives you so much anxiety. Like if we had a hard dinghy, then probably wouldn't be so concerned. Like everyone has like tinnies here. And so anyway, we were going ashore and watching for reef and stuff, and there was this like dark shadow under the water. I was like, oh my God. I was like, James. It was massive. And then it just took off in this flurry, like water kind of splashing and stuff, and it was a massive dugong. Like he would have been, shit, how big would that have been? Like 3 meters or something? I thought he was huge. He was a beast, but man, it gave me such a fright. I just all I could think about was crocs.
Yeah, it was super. It was a big beast, man. It was bigger than the dinghy.
Like,
and then we saw
massive.
Some on the other side of Stanley Island, like in the surf and stuff.
Yeah,
really
cool. Along they must be fishing because they're just like cruising along, like dolphins do, kind of. They're just like in the surf. But yeah, they're so buzzy looking. We saw heaps down. Where was that? Was it Newcastle?
No, it was entering towards Gladstone. We saw a ton of dugongs.
Heaps of them, but quite distant. Yeah, that was my.
We still haven't got to see their funny faces, which I would love to see.
Miranda calls them potatoes. Potato face or something. Yeah, they're crazy looking.
Dave G tuning in from Wilmington, California. What up? Someone said, you guys look so healthy. Your faces are so clear. What's your secret?
They're not. I have like a pimple on my face. What are you talking about?
It's just
eating too much
the
chocolate.
soft edit. Soft view. Low latency.
James found some Whitakers in the supermarket here. We thought we were done. We couldn't find any. So we've been munching away. Someone
asked if I find video production a chore, what software do I use? I edit on Final Cut Pro. Nah, I enjoy making the videos, and it's definitely the best job I've ever had. Every other job I had was way worse than this. So I don't mind it. I edited yesterday. We were stuck on the boat because the winds were so high. I edited 3 videos yesterday. So, and did finish one and then did 2 rough cuts and then finished one this morning. One of the rough cuts, totally done, output, ready to upload. Rhonda has a voiceover to do for our episode of Brampton when we stopped at Brampton, and then that video will be done. And then I think we have there's only about 6. Well, there's like maybe 3 up. There's about 8 total Australia videos still left to come out once we leave. So yeah, that's where we're at as far as that goes. But no, I enjoy making the videos. It's nice and fun.
Yeah, I don't see us visiting Australia again. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
kind of think we've done it.
Unless we just come back around and finish my circumnavigation and then shoot off again. But yeah, we wouldn't be doing the coast again like we did or anything like that.
Yeah, I think, you know what, like in my mind, if we come in and to finish her circumnavigation, we would just have to sail from like Vanuatu across, to somewhere north up here.
Across the line.
Yeah. At that point, I could see us like waiting for the northerlies, working our way south and going to Tassie finally. And then maybe even going from Tassie across the Bight to Western Australia and then up, because it's like if you're there, then you might as well. Otherwise, it's like, but that would be so many years away that you can't really speak on it. What else? Someone's asking about horsepower on the engine, Tritea's weight, and all that stuff. The engine is like roughly 14 horsepower. It's a 2 GM20, which is supposed to be 16 horsepower, but it's really about 14. But it says a bit weak and big. He says it's about weak and bigger seas, but the engine's just an auxiliary. Like we just sail. Try to use most of the sails will give you a 10 times more power than the engine. What else? Mike said New Zealand, Fiji, Marshalls through Micronesia. Now, if we finish Rhonda's, we would probably go to Mexico and then the Marquesas, because I didn't get to go Marquesas, and then do the South Pacific because she didn't get to do the South Pacific, and then all the way across onto Australia to finish her loop.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, with Indonesia? Like, we've been told that the insurance there isn't really a thing.
The insurance isn't a problem anywhere but New Zealand and Australia. Only New Zealand and Australia have completely ridiculously absurd insurance requirements of anywhere in the world I've been. It's crazy.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. What else? Captain Mike said, and Hawaii. Hell no, I'm never selling Hawaii again, ever. I did that. It is like so remote, and there's nothing anywhere near it. Not for me. I did it. What else? You guys got any more questions? We're at 1:30. Quartzsite, Arizona. Hello, Ed. I've been to Quartzsite. Lots of cool quartz crystals there. Someone said, do you have to check in an embassy when you travel? No, you do not at all. In fact, I don't think I've stepped foot in an American embassy since 2002 in the Czech Republic.
Oh, Glebe. Remember Glebe in Sydney? Yes, that fish market.
Glebe?
Yeah. Glebe, Sydney.
Oh, yeah, the Sydney fish market.
At the fish market, yeah.
Someone asked if I get lonely or stir crazy during solo crossings. No, not at all. At all. I would get far lonelier coastal cruising or being around other people than I did solo ocean sailing. Solo ocean sailing is dreamy in heaven, and it's just like a spiritual experience. So no, I never got lonely or stir crazy. I think if you get stir crazy in an ocean crossing, you shouldn't be doing ocean crossings. You should be doing something else with your life. I'll tell you when I got stir crazy, and that's like motoring with full sail up against the East Australian current, doing 3 knots for 20 hours.
Yeah.
That's when I get stir crazy.
It's extremely frustrating.
Someone asked, is long-term plan eventually through the Panama Canal getting back to the U.S.? That's yet to be determined. When we get to Brazil, if I feel like the boat is in a condition that she can handle the Horn, then we'll sail down to Cape Horn. If I feel like she's not in the condition, then we'll do the Panama Canal, but it's several years away. So it all depends on the state of Troitea at that point. The other day, I was cranking up the main, and the whole mast winch popped off in my hand, like ripped off of the mast. And it came down to like galvanic corrosion between the stainless bolts and the tapped aluminum mast, or in America, aluminum mast. And so I ran snatch blocks down. So then we ran the main halyard back to the cockpit. So I would jump the main, and then Rhonda would tighten it up with the cockpit winch, and that worked fine.
Yeah, it was fine. We did that for a few days.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 passages or something like that. Worked fine. And then since then, I oversized the holes, sized up all the bolts, retapped it. But when we get to Malaysia, I want to pull that winch off and rivet on a thicker plate that'll give me more bite. So that's the solution. And yes, I use Lanacoat on the bolts, for the dissimilar metal situation. But at some point, that stuff wears off, and it still happens. Someone said, do you ever get scared on a passage? No, I do not get scared on passages.
The only thing that scares me on passages is land.
Yeah, land's the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
For sure. Someone's asking about unexplained, or what was that type of experiences in the middle of the ocean? No, but I've always had aural hallucinations, so hearing things. and every solo sailor I know has experienced the same thing, and we all pretty much hear the same things. Where it'll sound like there's a couple different versions. It'll sound like an AM radio playing some kind of music that you can't identify, like music that you've never heard, or it'll sound like you're in a crowded restaurant with bad acoustics. So there's lots of plates clanking and like chatter that's you can't hear what it is. You can't understand what it is. And what I've always just assumed those hallucinations were is there's so much noise happening that your mind is trying to almost like autocorrect. So it's like trying to explain what it's hearing by playing familiar sounds to you. So it pulls from this database and says, well, I think we're hearing this. I've experienced it a ton. Every solo sailor I know has experienced it. So it'll be interesting to see if I hear it with someone else on board, because your mind might be like, oh, well, that's somebody else is making that noise.
Does it have to be a certain amount of time, like days deep or something? Or is it like just could be
Not
like
at
day
all.
one? Like it doesn't really matter. There's no kind of like, oh, well, I've been out for 5 days and then you start hearing it.
Not at all. And it has nothing to do with fatigue or anything. And I've even heard it with the engine on. When the engine's on, and one time I heard it with the engine on, it sounded like a band that was like a combination between Guns N' Roses and Skid Row, but you couldn't make out the lyrics. And it only happened if one ear was covered. So like if I had my head on the pedal, I would play with it. So I would like cover one ear and you could hear it perfectly. And then you take it off and you couldn't hear it. It was like pretty fascinating to be able to really fully awake. You know, it's just something
suss out what it was.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's so strange. The boat's really quiet these days as well. Like the boat's quiet anyway, but like on the last couple of passages, overnight passages, we've eliminated every kind of noise in the boat. So there's no other weird noises going on, like banging or clangs or anything like that. So everything's just boat noises, you know, like sail or water or, you know, things like that, which is really cool.
Someone mentioned the basin for some reason. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but the sinking of the basin.
Someone asked us if we're pulling the boat out in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we're gonna do like a mini refit. Not sure where. Probably at Reebok, because I think that's the marina we're gonna stay at, but we haven't decided 100% yet. Yeah, probably in Malaysia we will haul out, do the bottom, repaint the top sides.
Freshen up the cabin, like do some things. Maybe look at the galley a little bit.
Yeah, I might do like a refit on the galley a little.
Yeah, just a couple of little mods, and yeah, get her ready for the next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there'll be a mini refit taking place in Malaysia.
Someone asked as well about I think it was something maybe like the standing rigging or something earlier.
Yeah, my standing rigging was brand new when I left 3 years ago. Standing rigging is usually good for 10? Like 100,000 miles or 10 years. Yeah. So we won't need to address the standing rigging unless something happens until get back to Los Angeles. What else?
Eric says coastal cruising can be nerve-wracking. Main reason, his opinion, other cruisers, do you mean?
What did you say?
This one here, nerve-wracking coastal cruising.
Oh yeah, coastal cruising
other boaters
way scarier,
especially fast boats who seem to like, I don't know, like treat you like you're a magnet. There's so much ocean.
Power boats have like so much, for some reason they have so much ego. They always like to have cross your bow.
Like come at you.
They have to go out of their way to cross your bow. It's like some kind of like dig measuring competition or something. I have no idea. I'm like, bro, we're doing 4 knots. Relax. Yes, we're gonna visit the Rolly Tasker loft while we're in Thailand for sure.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Those guys have been, Sven, the top dog over there, has been really, really good to us and good guy, and we're definitely excited to see their loft.
What kind of pests do you get? James has never. Oh, you've had a couple of strange pests there, but
I've never had any infestation bug issues at all. No, I've never had any rats. I had, when I was in LA on the dock, I had a cockroach problem for like a couple months, but that's because that marina was super ghetto. But I just put out roach stuff. But since leaving, that's the other funny thing is like we've never been anywhere where there were tons of where bugs made life totally terrible. But we also keep bug screens on all the hatches and keep them down. But there are so many places where I read, and maybe I've just lucked out for 3 years. I'm not sure, but I've never had real problems with bugs. We actually got eaten the other day at the pub.
Oh my
Worse than anywhere we've been
gosh.
on the boat.
Yeah, I got absolutely nailed at the pub. Like, just all of us just got bitten. Like, we went out only for, but we weren't going to stay as long as we did, and of course dusk came about, and it was just, we just got eaten.
Yeah.
I had so many bites. It was crazy.
What else? Someone says, do you have to monitor the weather closer when sailing Indonesia more than you would Pacific near Hawaii? Not at all. I mean, I check the weather every single day, all the time. The weather's actually, as we're moving to Indonesia, it gets way, way more stable. There's more squalls and lightning and stuff, which is a concern. But as we're moving towards the equator, there's not, there's no extreme weather up there. The worst weather by far was like New Zealand and down out of the trade winds into the variables. That's where the weather is like super volatile. Once you get up towards the equator, it's just squalls, which are pretty predictable in strength. But again, the lightning is a concern. But yeah, other than that, it's like I probably check the weather 3 or 4 times a day, always anyway. So yeah, the key is like, and the parties have said this, they did 2.5 circumnavigations in small boats with almost no, like any kind of like electronics on board. And they never encountered what they would call like a really serious storm because they sailed in the correct oceans, in the correct regions at the right time of year for sailing. It's all been documented for centuries as far as weather goes. And it's very easy to not put yourself in a bad situation, especially nowadays with like grid files and stuff. It's super easy. So, what else? Someone again asked if we were going to Papua New Guinea. No, we are not. It's a security risk, and I don't put myself in harm's way. Even before Rhonda, I didn't put myself into sketchy places, and I definitely won't with her on board. Where has been the coldest temperature and the hottest? Coldest, probably New Zealand. Well, on Tritea. I mean, I've sailed in Greenland and Iceland. That's quite a bit colder. But on Tritea, probably New Zealand. When I was in Whangarei, when I got back last winter, New Zealand winter, I would wake up and see my breath in the V-berth before I turned on the forced air diesel heater to kind of warm up the cabin. Hottest temperatures, I don't know. The tropics are all kind of neutral. It was really hot in Sydney that day we were there.
It
was 97 degrees when we were in Sydney. And when you're in a city and you're surrounded by cement,
it was
hot. Gnarly.
And I just arrived as well. So for me as well, it was just this instant.
Yeah.
It was such a shock. I was, exhausted. It was so hot. Yeah. That was just a crazy one-off thing though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That day.
So, yeah. Any more questions? We got about 15 minutes before I'll tap out. I started losing my voice at the 2-hour mark regularly on these things. Solar system's going good. We had like a little short the other day. I had these originally I installed these stainless cable ties because I thought that they would hold up better to the UV. And the panel had slowly crept down and that stainless cable tie had actually cut through the wire. So I noticed the other day our batteries got low for some reason. I was like, what in the world? And we had good sun. So then I started kind of tracing it and I found that there was the wire was cut and it was shorting out. So I cut that and put it back, fixed it. But once we get to Malaysia, I want to replace all of that wiring, update all the wiring for the solar, just because it's been many years since I installed it. So it's good to update that wiring in case there's any corrosion in there, creating resistance. And we took a wave as well, I think, that a couple of days prior to that. So I think that could have been the crunch point out there. What else? Do you have insulation or
Where-
condensation issues in Tritea? Originally in LA, I installed a headliner in the V-berth because we used to get what I called breath rain, where you'd be breathing and it would be dripping because it's all hard. There's no headliner. So it's just the fiberglass. So there'll be a lot of dripping. And we're constantly fighting mold, wiping mold off of places. But that's just the nature of sailing in the tropics. But both been kind of hot lately.
It hasn't actually been that bad. It's been pretty dry lately.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't wiped the boat down for ages. And to be honest, the mold isn't growing as fast as what it had been down the coast.
Yeah. I think it'll be worse in Indo because the humidity is like 76% and it's pretty warm up there.
Yeah.
Is it tough keeping healthy living on a boat, traveling around the world, many means of eating a lot of carbs? No, not at all. You just eat healthy. We're both in really good shape.
Well, I could be in better shape, to be fair.
That's just her own ideas, though. It has nothing to do with reality.
We have a ukulele on board here, but neither of us seem to be able to find time to pick it up and play it.
We probably will
just had this conversation the other day, actually.
2 days ago.
Yeah, about that.
Someone asked how old we are.
How old do you think we are?
How old are you,
Put
Rhonda?
your guess in.
Rhonda is 46 and I'm 49. Rhonda will be 47 in November. And I turn 50 in April. So did you guys upgrade the alternator plan to? Yes, we got an alternator. We got a sponsor for a new smart alternator, but the challenge has been getting it shipped to us. So we'll probably have them ship that to us in Langkawi. We're also going to be upgrading the battery bank, New Dakota Lithium. We're going to go from 400 amp hours to 1,000 amp hours of new batteries. From Dakota, they're going to send those to us in Langkawi as well. How do you maintain fresh water on tanks? We fill up when we get around. Like there's a faucet on the dock here, and we topped up our tanks here. We'll be catching a lot of rainwater in Indo, but lots of places there's potable water that you can get. There's a really cool app called Zulu. Is it called Zulu Offshore or something? That is really handy for telling you all these different places that you can get water and food and fuel and all that stuff.
It's just kind of updated by the cruises and stuff. So if you ever find anything, you just pop in more information in there. Just pretty cool. Actually, we need to do that too. Do some updates.
Some kind of person spamming. It looks like a bot or something. Just got rid of that person. Rudder's holding up perfectly fine. Great. It's doing great. Is sailing the only way you guys move around the world? When will you touch down in Southern California? Yeah, I mean, we're sailing. I really understand the question.
That's what we're doing.
We're sailing around the world. Don't know when we'll be back to SoCal, whenever we finish the loop. Sailing plans are written in the sand at low tide, as they say. What are you looking most forward to in Asia? I know the food will be off the hook. The food,
oh my gosh,
the food and like the temples and just the experience of this like ultra foreign like
culture.
Yeah, culture and everything. It's like, but food, like our favorite food is Thai food. So, and I don't know that we've eaten Indonesian food or Malaysian food. So we're excited about the food.
Yeah.
You're excited about.
We hear the food was really amazing. I'm really excited about the markets and stuff like that as well. And do the tour, like the Spice Island tours and stuff as well, will be really, really cool. But yeah, the markets will be out the gate. It's just gonna be a whole new world, really. It's yeah. We'll let you know when we get there.
Someone said, I thought James was robbing the cradle. Rhonda has a grandchild, so no, I'm not robbing the cradle. She has 2 grown children. What country are you looking forward to the most? And what do you think will be your longest stay in one country? Well, like that, the second part of that question I'll answer first. I originally thought I was going to spend 4 months in New Zealand, and I ended up spending a year. And that taught me an important lesson about cruising. I'm like, oh, I have the ability to, spend a longer amount of time someplace. And Sailing Mackay talked about this as well. It's like, when are we going to be here again? It's like, so sometimes if you have the chance to slow down, if the country allows you to spend extra time there, then that will determine that. But
and also the weather in places too,
the
right?
weather,
Like
yeah.
that's, you know, like if it's a really, you want to stay in an anchorage and it's you're weather related and you can't stay there and you have to move on, then you know that pushes you through too.
Yeah, but as far as what country I'm looking forward to, I mean the standouts at the current moment, I'm really excited about Indo, Malaysia, and Thailand, and Madagascar. I'm really excited about Madagascar, and then of course Africa. But that seems so far away in my mind that I let myself get excited about short term stuff first.
Yeah, and if Indo becomes another season, then it's another whole year away as well.
Yeah. Somebody asked if we're pescatarian. Yes, we're pescatarian. What else? Any more questions? We got 10 more minutes before we're going to wrap it up. And then we got to get to boat work. Actually, you got a what?
I got a freezer defrost.
Yeah, we got to defrost the freezer. It's like solid block of ice.
Box. Literally a box of ice with things trapped inside there.
Yeah. It's like a time capsule.
Fun it is. The defrosting of the fridge.
Someone says, are you planning on dressing differently in Indonesia? Yes, we respect local customs. Same thing in Fiji. You're supposed to dress modestly in Fiji when you're out in villages and that sort of stuff. So yes, we always respect cultures as we visit them. We are visitors. So yes, we definitely do that.
How are we going to catch water? We've got a funnel which we're going to attach to our water container and hang off our shade, cockpit shade. So it'll just basically, roll down into a V, and then we'll just collect it like that.
Yep. Can also lower the main and collect tons of main water that way after it rinses it clean. But our sunshade filters, funnels it down into the cockpit in a good way. Thanks for checking it out, Eric. Tuning in from Sweden. Someone said, thank you for visiting Brisbane. Did you like our city? Brisbane's one of my most favorite cities I've actually visited anywhere. We loved Brisbane. We loved anchoring in the CBD, which was very unusual compared to all the wild places we normally go.
It's pretty crazy.
We're literally, it's like putting the boat on a sidewalk, in the middle of a giant city. It was super cool.
It was very pretty at night.
Good food. We enjoyed South Bank. Is that the name of that?
South Bank, yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time in Brisbane. We loved it. It's a long way from the open ocean, but we really enjoyed Brisbane.
And the botanical gardens was really cool and stuff. And the possums in there, the friendly little possums that come out and play at night. It was really neat.
Someone said, are y'all focused on YouTube marketing to grow your channel? My channel's plenty big. So I just make videos that I would enjoy watching, and I put those out. We don't do clickbait. We don't do fabricated drama or anything like that. And so certain channels have certain types of growth due to that, but it's actually a lot of times that'll be almost you'll see your audience atrophy because, if you're just drawing people in with naked videos or fabricated drama, eventually people are just going to get sick of this sort of fake business. So we're more interested in sort of the long game, to where we just make interesting videos about places that we find amazing, and the struggles, the good times, all that stuff, and just hold the course. Can you smoke weed on your boat? I've been sober my whole life, and Rhonda doesn't do drugs, so no, we don't smoke weed on our boat.
Do we snorkel and scuba dive often? We snorkel as much as we can, I suppose. It's been pretty difficult in some places to get in the water. But yeah, whenever we've had a chance, we've tried to get in. I mean, we don't film everything as well. That's another thing. People are like, oh, you guys don't swim enough and blah, blah, blah. It's well, we try and swim as much as we can, especially me, but we don't film everything. We're not live 24/7. We don't have a cam going all the time. So it's really interesting what people kind of pick up on and kind of have a dig about, because we don't share everything of our lives online.
Exactly.
So yeah.
What else? Thank you so much, Jack Sparrow. Appreciate it.
Yeah, some of the reefs were really beautiful, but they are pretty sad, on all fairness. So I guess, before coming out here, I'd never swum a reef before, so I had no idea apart from kind of like imagery that I'd seen online and things like that. So, I went in thinking it was going to be this amazing thing, and there's just a lot of very sick looking reef. And even we took a big boat out to the outer reef one day, and even that reef was pretty sad.
Yeah, I think that reef was sad because there's tour boats that go out there and everybody has
So
sunscreen on.
it
So
was, yeah,
because then we go to like McKay Reef, which has very little action and it looked gorgeous.
yeah,
So a lot of it, we saw this in Hawaii too. It's like places where the tourist boat going over and over, the reef a lot of time is in worse shape because people are wearing sunscreen.
I mean, those boats
that
are
they
going
shouldn't be
out,
wearing.
especially from Cairns.
Just taking like 100 people at a time, dumping
Every
them in the water.
day.
Yeah, so we definitely like, I think the sort of like most amazing fish life. What was the video I was just editing yesterday?
Butterfly Bay.
Butterfly Bay and the Whitsundays. That
Mm.
was like the density of fish life there was remarkable.
Yeah, it was funny because you didn't remember exactly how dense it
Nah.
was until you started editing it. We saw this massive. Was it there? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there
we saw the Maori
the
wrasse.
Maori wrasse, and
Yeah.
then we saw a bunch of Maori wrasse at where was that other big pod that we?
Was it Lizard?
Lizard
or no?
Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lizard had so many giant clams, like clams that were like
Oh,
almost the size of our dinghy.
huge.
Just like, and it's so hard to get the scale of it on video. But the giant clams at Lizard Island were just, and there's so many of them. They're in very good shape.
And when the tide drops down, the clams come out and they're all exposed and they're just like splurting water.
They
up.
shoot water
They
straight
shoot
out.
water
in the
up.
air.
It's like
so
it's
wild.
so cool. Yeah. But, that reef was really cool, wasn't it?
Someone says, do you go out looking for capture scenic things on video, or do you just put the camera when it feels right? I've been doing this so long, like I know what I need to film to make what I need to make. But we definitely have places like, we knew we were going to film at Lizard Island because of the Captain Cook thing. We visited Cooktown and filmed there as well because of the Captain Cook history. So there's and Lady Musgrave, we knew that was going to be amazing because it's the Great Barrier Reef and there would be good snorkeling. So we go to destinations because we want to see them, and we also know that they're going to be good content.
How often do you dive the anchor? We don't dive the anchor here. Hey, you think?
Nah, I think we did at Lizard because it was so clear.
Yeah, we just dove it to the anchor lakes just to see it, basically, just to see.
Yeah.
See what it.
I know when the anchor's set and when it's not set, just from the motion of the boat.
You can feel it set
for sure. And here, there's been 99.9% of places has had fantastic holding. Some places the holding was so good it was hard to get the anchor up. What else? All right, so I guess I'll go ahead and do one last share of some links, and then we'll probably tap out. I'll share our Instagram accounts if you want to see more like up-to-date stuff. That's like more real time. As always, YouTube is a slight delayed because of the nature of sharing videos. We're only a couple months out, which is kind of like where I like to be at the moment. But here are our Instagram links for our 3 different channels or 3 different Instagram accounts. And yeah, someone said, impressed how fast your channel has grown. Appreciate the great content. I started my channel in 2015. The only real hard blow up was the Hawaii video. Then I gained a lot of, but I had 12,000 subscribers when I left LA just from like cruising in Southern California. But yeah, it's definitely gotten up there. And I'm grateful for all the subscribers and everyone who watches the videos. And then let me see if there's any, can't remember if there's any other links. I will go ahead and share Rhonda's YouTube channel one more time as well, so we have it at the end of the chat too for anyone who tuned in after the fact. So there's her cooking YouTube channel. She just crossed 1,000 subscribers last night.
Yay!
Which we're grateful and excited for. And yeah, so and one last link. I'll share the tracker again. So if you want to keep an eyeball on us while we are sailing to Indonesia this next week, I will be doing regular blogs. That's a live updating tracker, as I always do, passage blogs. We will not have Starlink on. We'll be shutting it off because I don't believe that people should have internet while on ocean passages. So if you want to keep track of us then, and then we'll have lots to share on Instagram once we land in Indo. And then, there's still, like I said, there's still about, I don't know, maybe 8 videos for Australian adventures coming up. So even though we're saying goodbye right now in real time to Australia, there's still plenty of Australian adventures. So there you have it. Someone said, Rhonda, YouTube channel, please. Yeah, I just posted that in the chat, so check that out. So thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. It's great to hang out with y'all. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.